Cyborg actor Ray Fisher is doubling down on his public attacks against theatrical Justice League director Joss Whedon, famed director Joss Whedon, who's done a lot of other stuff before Justice League that people like, Marvel's Avengers, Buffy, Firefly, right? At first, Ray Fisher shaded Joss Whedon and he was vague. He didn't say exactly anything Joss Whedon had done or said to be a jerk in his opinion, in Ray Fisher's opinion. But yesterday, he basically flat out called him out. He gave more information, although he never shared exactly what happened, and I don't think he ever will. He basically did flat out accuse Joss Whedon of being a terrible person to work with and bad behavior on the Justice League set. Here's what he said, his direct tweet, which is still up as of the recording of this video. Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. He was enabled in many ways by Geoff Johns and John Berg. Oh yeah, so Ray Fisher's not just accusing Joss Whedon, he's accusing tons of people of just bad behavior. Accountability is more important than entertainment. So yeah, he is calling people out. And this is a bold move because all three of the people he's accused of being bad people to work with, Whedon, Berg, or just bad behavior, Whedon, Berg, and Geoff Johns, are currently working on projects for Warner Brothers. The same place Ray Fisher's Cyborg is going to show up in the Snyder Cut next year. Like, he's basically calling out people who are still employees of the studio he's an employee of, right? Joss Whedon has this show that's going to come on HBO Max next year, I think, called The Nevers. And Geoff Johns and John Berg are still producing stuff for Warner Brothers and DC specifically. At least Geoff Johns is. I mean, he's doing Stargirl. He's a producer on Green Lantern. And I think he's been a producer on things that have already come out. Shazam. So, there's going to be some tension when people are passing each other in those Warner Brothers hallways, right? In the building. So what happened? Well, I guess, Joss Whedon was a jerk, at least to Ray Fisher and people Ray Fisher knows on that set. I mean, I don't think that Ray Fisher would be saying stuff like this if it wasn't true. I mean, because that would be really, mean for him to be publicly bashing somebody who hadn't done or said something that rubbed Ray Fisher the wrong way. Now, I wasn't there, but I would imagine the situation was Joss Whedon came in Justice League to replace Zack Snyder, right? A director most of the cast and crew already liked in the first place. So there must have been tensions. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a situation where a lot of people who were loyal to Zack Snyder were like, who's this new guy? We aren't into him. And Joss Whedon's style as a storyteller is very different than Zack Snyder's style. So there were probably a lot of people who weren't feeling what Joss Whedon was trying to do, right? Zack Snyder's stories are more serious. Joss Whedon's stories usually have more jokes and levity. And there probably were just people who just were not feeling the changes Joss Whedon was bringing in. And if there was tension, then maybe Joss Whedon cracked, It's like, it's hard to come in a situation where a lot of people don't like you or don't want you there in a very high pressure project, right? Justice League was, everybody was paying attention to that movie and, drama around it. And, that was back when the media coverage on DC movies was a lot more toxic than it is today. And, there might have been a lot, if Joss Whedon was a horrible jerk, and I think he probably was, at least to somebody, he cracked under some stuff. I'm thinking there could be reasons. I'm not necessarily trying to make excuses for him if, he was horrible. I'm just trying to paint a scenario of a situation where there was probably a lot of drama. It was like a hotbed. It was like it was basically like a furnace. It was already hot to begin with, and people's tensions were already running high, I would think. Now, Ray Fisher's Cyborg was apparently supposed to be a huge part of Justice League, the way Zack Snyder originally intended. And, Joss Whedon cut a lot of that out. So that's probably part of the reason why Fisher's unhappy. And I think that has a lot to do with why, he's still pissed off at Whedon. But there had to have been more going on than just that. Now, Alan Tudyk, who worked with Joss Whedon on Firefly and Serenity, he did tweet out a defense of Whedon. However, to be fair, Alan Tudyk was not there on Justice League. So it could be possible that, he's defending his buddy, but he's also defending a situation that he wasn't there for. But here's what he said. Wasn't there, so he admits he wasn't there, but I have known Joss for 17 years. I honestly can't even imagine, and I have imagine it, and I have a pretty good imagination. And I think Joss Whedon liked that tweet, and so did James Gunn, who's currently, on Team DC because he's doing the Suicide Squad. But like I said, neither Alan Tudyk nor James Gunn were there, so they don't know what happened. But Joss Whedon still has some friends, apparently. So will more cast members and crew members speak out? No one else from the Justice League set is really saying anything to back up Fisher, but they're also not defending Joss Whedon either. I think they're just taking a let's just wisely stay out of it kind of stance, right? Because they don't want to get caught up in this drama, and, they don't want any relationship they have with Warner Brothers or the entertainment industry to be threatened by this. I mean, Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot have got some big stuff going. Ben Affleck, I don't see Ben Affleck wanting to really get involved in this. Ezra Miller doesn't even do social media. So, I get it. A lot of them some of them have said stuff in the past. I don't think they came out and publicly called Joss Whedon out, but there were people who defended Zack Snyder's version of Justice League. And, like that guy who played Kieran Hines, Steppenwolf, right? He did say that there was more deep stuff between him and Darkseid in Zack Snyder's cut, but, that had added more depth. But, the theatrical cut, got rid of all that. Now, I don't think they specifically called out Joss Whedon, but they seem to be on Team Snyder. Now, for his part, John Berg, who was also accused in Ray Fisher's tweet, did defend himself. And he said, it is categorically untrue that we, talking about himself, Berg, and Geoff Johns, enabled any unprofessional behavior. I remember Fisher being upset that we wanted him to say booyah, which is a well-known saying of Cyborg. So John Berg is saying he and Geoff Johns didn't enable anybody. And like I said, John Berg and Geoff Johns are currently still involved in Warner Brothers and DC projects. So, yeah, there's still some bad blood between people for things that went down on that set. Now, is Ray Fisher going to be in trouble? Because even if he's telling the truth, there's a reason why people don't publicly call people out like this in Hollywood and other industries, because they could be afraid of backlash. Speaking out against powerful people. But I think Ray Fisher's probably feeling bold because privately, he probably has the support of other people on that set, because he probably has there are people there who feel the same way he does. And, I wouldn't be surprised if Zack Snyder has his back, right? And Zack Snyder is about to have his Justice League come out. And Ray Fisher is confident that once people see Zack Snyder's Justice League next year, they're going to like it, which will increase Zack Snyder's clout at Warner Brothers and Ray Fisher's own clout, in pop culture if he's playing a character who's well received in the Snyder Cut. And, Zack Snyder will probably give Ray Fisher Cyborg more to do in maybe future HBO Max DC projects. So Ray Fisher is probably speaking from a place of confidence, expecting that he's not going to face a lot of blowback from this, because Zack Snyder and Zack Snyder loyalists within, Hollywood and Warner Brothers will have his back to help him get work. I'm making a huge assumption here. Otherwise, I think he would be quaking in his boots. But he knows that he has support from at least the right people for him, maybe. What's interesting, though, is the timing of, Ray Fisher's latest accusation of Geoff Johns and John Berg, because that same day, a press release came out that Geoff Johns and John Berg are producing a Frosty the Snowman movie that stars Jason Momoa, right? Ray Fisher's buddy and Justice League co-star, right? So it is kind of weird, like I was saying, that Ray Fisher would publicly call out some people, not only who are still working with Warner Brothers, but also working on projects that one of his friends and Justice League co-stars, Jason Momoa, is currently going to be a part of. That's probably why you'll never hear Jason Momoa say anything publicly right now against Geoff Johns, because Geoff Johns is working on a project he's starring in. So, it is a pretty weird situation, and the timing is quite odd for Ray Fisher to say this. Maybe he didn't know this announcement was coming this day, because it's quite, it's just weird, for this to all happen in the same day. But, we can count on the fact that Ray Fisher and Joss Whedon probably aren't going to be working together ever again after this. They don't want to, and after this, they can't. But anyways, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel, because I appreciate your viewership, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.